President Trump is cutting off aid to 3 Central American countries because he says they aren't helping stop the flow of migrants to the U.S. border. Jessica Smith is live in our Washington, D.C. bureau with the latest. Jessica.
Well, President Trump is cutting off aid to Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala. He says that the 3 countries are not helping. They're not stopping the caravans of migrants that are trying to make their way to the U.S. border. He says, actually, that the 3 countries are setting up these caravans. That was the word he used when he was talking to reporters about this. And he says that these 3 countries need to take more action. Now, the president has threatened to do this before, but at this point, we're seeing the State Department actually make a move to enact these policies here. So that's kind of the escalation that we're seeing. A spokesperson with the State Department told me that at Secretary Pompeo's direction, they will be following the president's request, and they'll be ending fiscal year 2017 and 2018 assistance programs for the Northern Triangle countries. They say they'll be engaging with Congress throughout this process, and we're already hearing from lawmakers, Democratic lawmakers for the most part, even though I suspect some Republicans will not be fans of this idea as well. But Democratic lawmakers are saying if you cut this funding, you're going to make the problem worse, because the funding is trying to address the causes of the problems that are driving people to leave these countries and try to reach the United States. So they're saying cutting this funding is only going to make the problem worse. Now, it's not actually clear if the president can reroute all of this funding. That remains to be seen, and we need to find out when this funding would be cut off. That's also not quite clear yet. So we'll be talking to lawmakers quite a bit about this once they get back to Washington this afternoon.
Jessica, let's stick with the sort of bipartisan response there. Yeah, I want to ask you about that, because as you say, the president has threatened to do this before. Now, as you say, likely Democratic lawmakers, we kind of know how they would respond.
Right.
But in terms of Republicans, are most of them standing behind it, or do you expect more to come out and say, actually, I don't agree with this? And we've seen, that certain media outlets do seem to support it, at least for now.
Well, I think Republicans are a little quieter about this at the moment. We haven't heard from as many Republican lawmakers, but I do think that they're going to take issue with stripping this funding because, as I mentioned, they're trying to address the root causes of this migration that we see as people try to leave these countries because they fear for their lives. They're experiencing such poverty. Like, they're trying to solve those problems. So if you cut the funding off, that you would think the problems would only get worse. And I think some Republicans are going to back that idea as well. So we'll see how this shakes out, if Republicans are going to stand by the president or if they will fight this move. That remains to be seen at this point.
All right, we'll keep watching. Thanks, Jessica.